So I've got with me here the Doogee BL12000. Now you're probably thinking, hang on, you reviewed the Mix 2, you didn't like it, so why are you looking at another Doogee phone? Well, the simple answer is that this is a review unit that I arranged with lightinthebox.com, who sent this for free. Thank you very much. Before I looked at the Mix 2. So I wasn't aware then so much of the fake camera setup on the rear and the fake bezels that Doogee have been doing lately. So their press images, they show models like this one in particular, and then the Mix 2 with what looks like edge-to-edge bezel-less design of the screen. But of course, when you get it and open it up, you find out the bezels are in fact so much larger than what you were thinking. So they're misleading customers, which isn't good. What is also very misleading is the rear camera setup. So they say it has 2x optical zoom, which it doesn't. They say that there's 2 cameras in there, which I highly doubt. I believe that one of the cameras is simply just a proximity sensor, because if you place your finger over it, it will say that stop blocking the camera, to make sure you don't block it. But I believe that this one will be exactly like the Mix 2. Anyway, there's some positives hopefully with this particular model I'm going to look at, that the battery capacity is simply massive. It's 12,000 milliamp hours. Now, that is a lot bigger than some of the laptops I review, which cap out normally the budget ones at about 10,000 milliamp hours. So just think about that. They've somehow managed to cram that into a mobile phone. Hopefully they haven't faked the battery capacity either with this. So the specs aren't anything amazing. We are using a they are using, I should say, chipset in here, which is the MediaTek MTK6750T. Now that's octa-core 1.5 gigahertz a maximum turbo that has on there. It's paired up with the Mali T860 GPU. That's the MP2 version, so it's just dual core. And then we have 4 gigabytes of double data rate 3 RAM, which I think runs at about 933 megahertz. In fact, no, it could actually be a lot slower than that. So it's not going to be amazing performance-wise, but hopefully paired up with that battery, we're going to get some amazing battery life on this model here. So Doogee lying to their customers is never a great way to get return customers. In fact, most people would probably never come back. So hopefully I'm wrong here about the fake bezels and fake camera setup on this model, but we'll find out in just a second. So there we go, it's factory sealed here. Plain black box there with just BL12000 on the front. So there we have the phone. Oh wow, that is so chunky as expected. Look at this. It comes in a case, but that is a brick of a phone. Look how big that is. Of course, it's got a battery capacity that is literally twice or 3 times as much as most mobile phones. So it's kind of to be expected, isn't it? But we'll take a look at the bezels and the phone in just a second. Have a look and see what else we get in the box. Now, the charger, this should be supporting MediaTek's Pump Express 2 for faster charging, which it does. You can see here, it's 12 volts, 3 amps, the maximum output. Now, Doogee claimed that you can fully charge this huge battery in 4 hours, which I find to be pretty damn good if that is the case. Now to quickly take a look at what we get in the box. So we got an instruction manual there, that's in English. We get 2 screen protectors. We have a micro USB 2 cable, and then they've also included a dongle here. So this is micro USB 2. I almost forgot there is a SIM tool here, of course, because we need to be able to open that SIM tray up. Let's just check out the weight and thickness of it. So wow, a whopping 340 grams. That's one heavy mobile phone. Now looking at the case here, it's a little bit weird. It has these dust ports over the micro USB 2 port and 3.5mm jack at the top, you can see, but it doesn't really clip in that well. The quality of that case is a little bit cheap, but it's better than nothing. It is great that we do have at least a case in the box. You can see there's the 3.5mm headphone jack. And yeah, the funny little cover over it, that's not really going to keep dust out of it. So I'm not really too sure why they decided to do that. 15.1 millimeters. So not going to win any records there when it comes to slimness. But as I mentioned, I mean, it's got a huge battery capacity. So this is the trade-off, of course. So up the front, we've got an earpiece, front camera. Now that front camera will probably just shoot VGA or maybe 720p if they've patched that. The wide-angled camera is a great addition. I do like this, the fact that they've put that in here. I want to see more wide-angled cameras. I think that's a lot more practical than a gimmicky dual lens setup. Now you can see we've got this "Be long time belong to you." So there's some Chinese English on the front. Not sure what that is meant to be. And if we have a look at the camera here, I've noticed that when you have a look at the lens of the bottom camera, it seems different, like it's not actually a proper sensor in there. So my guess is that's the fake camera, just like the Mix 2 at the bottom. We've got a fingerprint reader, a dual tone LED flash. On the right side, the buttons here, they are made out of metal. They feel okay. They're not too bad at all. It's a nice little touch, I guess, the metal strips, whether you like it or not. This design choice they've gone with, the screws there, probably to hold in the rear cover. 3.5mm headphone jack there at the top. Of course, we're going to have this because this doesn't have Type-C, so they couldn't opt for just Type-C only audio. On the bottom of this portable power pack, mobile phone, you'll find the loudspeaker, micro USB 2 port there, and microphone. I'll test the loudspeaker out in this video as well, so at least you know whether it's decent or bad. So the SIM tray on the left will take either 2 nano SIMs or your micro SD card and nano SIM. The back here has a pre-applied screen protector. It is glass. Now this side part of the frame, if you're wondering, it's made out of plastic. The SIM tray also has a little bit of metal around it, the frame, which is great because if you ever had a mobile phone with just the plastic frame, that was a little bit flimsy and prone to breaking. So in hand, the phone feels okay. You definitely notice the chunkiness of it, the size of it too. When you place it in your pocket, it looks like you're carrying around a small battery pack in there, or in fact, you've got 2 mobile phones stacked into your pocket. So a little bit uncomfortable to be carrying around this kind of thickness here. Now this bright background here clearly shows those bezels, far from the press images. So anyway, we'll move on from that. So I'll quickly go through the fingerprint reader setup. So I'm just going to scan it first. And I didn't particularly like the fingerprint reader on the Doogee Mix 2. My one wasn't very good. Quickly, I have the phone locked. I will place my finger on it here now. It's vibrated. There we go, it unlocked. So it takes about 2 or 3 seconds. So I just checked for wireless updates. There aren't any at the time of this review. So we've got on-screen buttons, even though we do have space down the bottom here for capacitive, and the chin, the lower bezel, it is not there. So it is running Android 7, as you can see. And the security patch level is from the 5th of November, which isn't bad. That's quite recent. The OS is also decent, the fact that it doesn't have any crammed on bloatware. I do like this trend here. So it does have a custom UI feel to it a little bit because of the skin here. So they've just changed a couple of icons, really. It is basically like stock Android 7. And you probably would have noticed there too that we do have FM radio as well on this hardware. So those of you that still like to listen to FM, then that's possible, which is another little bonus there. Already I'm starting to notice a little bit of serious UI lag here. Now when you're installing something, it's very obvious, but when you swipe down here, see that lag? That's actually not too bad now that I've done it a couple of times, but when I was installing Antutu and swiping, now it's smooth. There was quite a few stutters there, and just getting around, I've noticed that it's not super smooth there. That's to be expected from this chipset, of course. It's not the most powerful. And here is the Antutu result. So 42,000, that's quite a bit less than the Helio P25, for example, that gets normally around 60 to 65,000, and also a lot less than the Snapdragon 625. So it's definitely not a powerful chipset, this one. Definitely low end. Now the display actually looks quite alright for the price of this phone. It's perhaps the best feature of this. If you must have an 18:9 aspect ratio screen with a massive huge battery, then this really is the only phone that I know of at the moment. There'll probably be some future models coming out. I think there's going to be a BL12000 Pro model too with a better chipset in there. So the color reproduction looks okay. The calibration out of the box, perhaps a slightly leaning towards blue tint. The white's on here, but overall, not really too bad at all. The screen, it's also bright. So we just got the one loudspeaker on the bottom, and as expected, it doesn't sound wonderful. I mean, it's quite flat, but I'll give you a sample of it now. Alright, so it sounds okay. It's got a reasonable amount of loudness. Ideally, if it was louder, that would be much better. Moving on to the cameras now. So there's a lot of controversy over these cameras because really they are fake. And you can see the difference in the sensor and the lens. So look at the bottom one here. This is the fake one. So covering this up, it doesn't actually do anything in any photos. There's no optical zoom in there. And see how it's lighter in color? It almost just looks like it's a fake plastic lens. Perhaps there's a proximity sensor sitting just behind there. So when you do cover it, when you're in the bokeh effect, the blurred backgrounds, it'll tell you to stop covering the lens. And that's maybe just a cheat way to cover up the fact that, hey, we've actually just put a fake camera in there. And just to prove the point even further, look, I'm covering it now. Nothing is happening, going through all the different modes. I won't go through all of them here, but that's in bokeh mode where it should be using it. Nothing, cover the top lens, and you can clearly see I am covering it. The bottom again, no. So it is 100% fake, and a real shame that Doogee are doing this. They are misleading customers. They are lying about having dual camera setups. But anyway, let's have a look at some photo samples now and some video shot on the BL12000. So this is a sample shot on the rear camera. So it's 16 megapixels. We've got 1080p maximum. I'm recording on the fine preset. The focus they claim to be phase detection autofocus, but I've found that, well, at least in video, it does not seem to be the case. That really you have to tap to focus on things and then it will focus. So autofocus seems to be disabled or very slow when in use. The quality, as you can expect, kind of in this category of phone, that it's not wonderful really. And well, we've got video that you can record in 1080p, but don't expect amazing quality. Let's have a look at the front-facing camera now. So with the front-facing camera, you can use the wide-angled selfie lens. I really do like the fact that they have included this. At least it's practical. It's not a dummy fake camera. And we do get a lot more in the shot. As you can see, I'm holding, this is my full arm's length here. And if we swap over now to the other camera, you can see that this one is cropped in so much closer. Now when you swap over, it stops the recording, so you have to start and stop each time you change the cameras. But the quality, as you can see, quite average, a little bit pixelated, a little washed out, nothing amazing. So let's take a look at the battery life. It is in fact not as amazing as you would think it would be with such a large battery. So according to Doogee, it has a 12,000 milliamp hour battery capacity, which seems kind of crazy. They'll be able to fit that into a mobile phone. But continual use on-screen time of only 13 hours and 40 minutes. Now you're probably thinking, hang on Chris, 13 hours, almost 14 hours is amazing on-screen time, but think about the likes of the Snapdragon 625 and the Redmi Note 4X. I got 14 hours of screen on time, and that has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So I expected at least 20 hours of screen on time, even more from this phone. And it really does fail to deliver with that inefficient chipset. And again, I think that the battery capacity is probably only about 8,000 milliamp hours. Now, if I have a look at our battery information here too, I'll just confirm that. You can see that I was using it continuously. Now, that was heavy use. So it was a lot of gaming, Chrome streaming, YouTube streaming, the whole time during that time there. And again, screen on time, 13 hours and 30 minutes. Great, but I expected just so much better from a mobile phone like this. And if you're wondering, can it act like a portable battery pack? Yes, it will charge other devices. I'm currently charging the Maze Alpha X here with the BL12000. Now, when it comes to gaming performance, I've noticed that it is definitely a little bit slower than the Mali T880 as expected. You see a few more little stutters. But overall, I mean, you can play all of the games I have tested with playable frame rates, just don't expect it to be super smooth 100% of the time. That's the only real downside there. Okay, so there we go. To bluntly put it, this is not a recommended phone at all. As you've seen from the battery life that you'd expect with a 12,000 milliamp hour battery capacity, which I personally believe has been faked. It's not really that capacity. I feel it's probably like 8,000 milliamp hours or 10 at most. and even that's probably really pushing it to get it into this thick, bulky frame. So only around 14 hours of screen on time. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean only 14 hours? 14 hours is really great. Yes, it is, of course. But you have to take into consideration that other mobile phones with a Snapdragon 625 chipset around this price point with a 4000 milliamp hour battery, which is 3 times less, get 14 hours of screen on time with my same testing process. So that was the Xiaomi Redmi Note 4X that I managed to get that kind of on-screen time. And really I see no reason to go for this mobile phone unless of course you must have that external charging. So you can use that adapter cable that's included in the box to charge other devices. So you could plug in, for example, an action camera, charge that, which other mobile phones, hardly any in the market do that. There's only a select few that can, and you'll find their Chinese models were very similar spec. So the CPU, that MediaTek 6750T, is rather disappointing. I do not like the performance of it. You see a lot of lag and stutter. I mean, just swiping down the notifications and the toggles at the top often results in really bad lag there, and that's not good to see. The ROM is light, which is a positive, and then the cameras, okay, they fake the cameras on the rear, and they've also faked the bezels from their press images. Doogee should almost be called really dodgy, shouldn't they? Because they are really misleading their customers, and how they expected to gain return customers if they just lie about everything to start with. Thank you so much for watching this review. Now, if you like this content, please think about subscribing. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments section below in this video. And thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.